Who's ready for me to dog on AI some more? Shout outs to, of all news outlets, Yahoo Finance for this one? That's kind of crazy. Let's have a look here. Yahoo Finance. Spending on AI data centers is so massive that it's taken a bigger chunk of GDP growth than shopping and could crash the American economy. Flashback to a year ago where I made that video about data centers being built in, I think it was the Netherlands at the request of a viewer, where this cycle was beginning to show where AI was starting to consume a larger and larger profile of energy consumption. That's fucking uncomfortably prescient. And I fucking remember there were liberals that still wanted to argue with me back then and still now about AI and its uses and functionality and like utility and shit. Meanwhile, there's headlines like this that keep dropping, and I've yet to see literally anything good come from AI. Like, great, cool. It seems like people are making up a like concept of AI to argue in favor of that doesn't exist, like legit. I don't know what they're cooking. The mighty American consumer may have finally met their match, and it's a giant hulking rectangular box that hosts very few people inside, but rather a huge nest of servers, storage systems, and networking equipment. Consumer spending in the American services economy is so large it can boggle the mind, representing roughly 2/3 of GDP. To paraphrase the long-running coffee chain Dunkin', America runs on spending. Oddly sounds fitting. But this mighty American consumer has slow seasons, and the summer of 2025 appears to be one of them. There are several interconnected, buddy. It's more than just a slow season. The debt crisis is actually starting to catch up to a lot of people, so spending has been slowing down. It's been like speeding up because of the rate at which like in a way consumer spending has been slowing down for a while. And the constant struggle of like financial institutions is to avoid at all costs actually addressing any underlying issues that would cause people to need to go into debt for things, right? Because addressing anything at a systemic level, like providing affordable housing, making cities less dependent on cars and that sort of shit, that hurts the margins of like banks and businesses, basically. So instead of fixing any of that, what they've done is simply they've been trying to like race to put tracks in front of the train by making it easier for people to go into debt to keep spending money. Like spend money that you don't have. God forbid we make it so that people have money to spend. Make it easier to spend when you don't have money. Is the philosophy here, which results in this. There are several interconnected factors, namely recent jobs growth now appearing much smaller than previously thought, and the impact of artificial intelligence on the workforce. But those hulking rectangular boxes, the massive data centers sprouting up across the country, are emerging as a giant magnet for dollars and a dominant driver of the economy. Yeah, because there's so much like speculative investments and shit being put in. We all know liberals refuse that systems have problems. Yeah, the liberal suffers from a profound lack of political imagination, where it's almost like a very Thatcherite, Reaganite sentiment that there is no society, and that action only exists at the level of the individual. Giant tech companies have spent so much on data centers in 2025 that their spending is now contributing more to U.S. economic growth than consumer spending, long considered the nation's economic engine. It is legendarily Jover right now. If you make the reasonable assumption that spending on data centers equates to AI capital expenditures, defined as capital deployed for information processing equipment and software, then the pattern is clear. A ton of money is flowing into one concentrated area, and the outcome of that is uncertain. Well, it's not good. I can say with certainty that the outcome of this is not good. Also, the fact that like AI is now bigger than consumer spending in terms of GDP means that any growth we're seeing in the US economy is like completely fucking fake. Feels like economic D-Day is about to happen soon. Yeah, basically. Like this basically is another nail, like a really big nail in the coffin of the American economy, that like now this is the main feature of American economics, and this is the main driver of growth, investment, and like money moving around kind of. But obviously none of it makes its way down. It's not like it's consumer spending where that money actually kind of circulates for a little while. No, this is completely the fake economy, the investment speculation economy. It's all a bubble. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta are the main players investing at staggering levels to build and upgrade data centers that support the exponential demand for AI computing power. Demand from these companies, by the way. There is no demand for AI outside of what the companies that own the AI models are generating themselves. You understand this? Like, AI was not needed. Nobody wanted it. Nobody asked for it. It's just data scraping and like Gaussian blurring and de-blurring or denoising that gets you more like ad revenue allegedly from people to serve them like more targeted ads, or to like, I don't know, fucking destroy the internet. Right? And to like destroy small artists and shit for consolidation purposes. I don't know if that's necessarily part of it, but like when you hear that like, oh yeah, there's so much demand for this, this is the demand. The suppliers are also the demand. It's just it's an Ouroboros. Those four companies alone forecasting a record $364 billion of capital investment in 2025. Combined, the so-called Magnificent Seven tech giants spent more than $100 billion on data center projects in just the past 3 months, as calculated by Wall Street Journal's Christopher Mims. Yeah, one of the features of when money gets this large and you're dealing with investments of this size, it is actually kind of hard to calculate just how much money is going to any given thing. All this spending has to have an impact on the economy. Analyst estimates from Renaissance Macro Research indicate that so far in 2025, the dollar value contributed to GDP growth by AI data center expenditure surpassed the total impact from all U.S. consumer spending, the first time this has ever occurred. Private R&D spending has been declining for 4 of the past 5 quarters. Not great. Didn't need to actually open that. So far this year, AI CapEx, which we define as information processing equipment plus software, has added more to GDP growth than consumer spending. You can see this line is consumer spending. This line is AI, equipment and investment, what they describe here. You can see the line of AI investment is now larger in its contribution to GDP growth than consumer spending. You may notice the line is going down for consumer spending. People are not spending as much money because they don't have the fucking money to spend. Meanwhile, these fuckers are literally like, they have trash cans full of money and they are pouring it into a goddamn black hole where it can never be seen again. But because the money is flowing from the trash can into the black hole, that gets recorded as GDP growth. That gets recorded as economic activity. So them like lighting the money on fire and throwing it in the air so it can be destroyed, that's going to be recorded on balance sheets and going to be recorded in economic statistics as GDP growth. Bet you some of them are doing it on purpose. I mean, yeah. Obviously, they're doing it because it's like a speculation bubble. You pumping up the bubble more gets you more money. The stock market, the entire premise of capitalist political economy is that everything just operates on the logic of a pump and dump scheme, right? Every single type of investment, capitalist investment, is always a pump and dump. Right? It was the same thing with the housing crisis in 2008. It was the same thing with the Great Depression in the 1920s and 30s. It was the same thing with the Wall Street crash of 87, Black Tuesday. It was the same thing with the Dutch tulip futures in the 1600s, where people just figured out that if you make a bet and then keep increasing the size of the bet, even if it was completely fraudulent, if you just cashed out before the eventual crash, before the house of cards came down, you made a shitload of money from doing absolutely nothing for society. And that's what this is. This is one of the like biggest fucking problems with capitalist political economy, is that the most money that like it runs on the basis of money being made, profit being made. And the place where there's the most money to be made is just a bullshit like pump and dump scheme where everybody gambles and then like somebody gets left holding the bag at the end when the house of cards collapses. It's an unsustainable, it is a model of economics that is actually built on a collapse that ruins people's lives. Capitalism is completely dependent on there being a bubble that gets inflated, that contributes nothing to society, and then, like, actually ruins people's lives for real. Kayla the Furry, thank you for the 50 bits. First time anybody has, contributed bits or anything to the stream. And welcome back. Anyways, I was just talking about how much I hate capitalism for the 1 millionth time because of, like, fucking AI investment. In case you missed it, this is the graph that compares consumer spending, which is this lighter colored line, to AI data center investment and AI equipment, which is this darker line. You may notice, as this is a contribution to GDP growth, AI data center spending is now more of America's GDP than consumer spending. And consumer spending is going down, and AI spending is going up. Which means that there's more money being poured into a financial and economic black hole by megacorpos than there is money actually circulating from people who are, like, using it for real things. Oh no? Yeah, it is a oh no. This is going to be an economic crash of fucking biblical proportions. What is this? As Rusty Foster, author of the widely read media blog Today in Tabs, puts it, our economy might just be 3 AI data centers in a trench coat. That is such a good way to put it. Yeah, the American economy has turned into 3 AI data centers in a trench coat. And they're trying to buy a movie ticket with, like, fucking Monopoly money. Dude, fucking whatever nerd wrote this Yahoo article. This recalls the classic comedic device of several children wearing a long jacket pretending to be an adult, as memorably portrayed in Netflix's BoJack Horseman, when Vincent Adultman successfully maintained the illusion for several dates with Princess Carolyn. I don't know why you would cite this example, because there's way better. Like, this has been a thing for so much longer. At least Keynesianists understand they have to give the proletariat a livable wage. Yeah, and I have a lot of respect for the Keynesians for understanding that. Unfortunately, there are a lot of neo-Keynesians and post-Keynesians that don't seem to even go that far. Like the central banks of most countries operate on a sort of Keynesian logic, but it's a very perverse and twisted version of that Keynesian logic. Remember, I was talking about how the Federal Reserves and a lot of central banks are basically like, okay, so our job is to increase or decrease the interest rate on loaning money to people, which can only hurt the proletariat. It can only hurt the working classes. If you lower the interest rate, the working classes go further into debt. If you raise the interest rate, then the working class no longer has access to any form of capital, even highly temporary and volatile capital, with which to actually spend on things that they need, right? Livable wage? Yeah, sure, buddy. Yeah, basically. Like, look, the Fed has been on record like saying that their job is to keep the labor market in check and basically keep the working class at arm's length. You know? John Maynard Keynes would fucking light the Federal Reserve on fire if he saw what they were doing today. You know, so shout outs to all my Keynesian homies, but I fucking hate American, like, neo-Keynesianism and shit. But then the bubble popped, or the trench coat came off. Yeah, you can't wear that trench coat forever. Hats off to you. Oh, thank you. Why is this happening now? Okay, so a little bit more. Several forces are driving this unprecedented investment wave. The boom in generative AI and advanced LLMs, technologies that require vast amounts of computing resources, to put out a wrong result, by the way, these things are not fucking useful, has forced tech giants to rapidly increase their physical infrastructure. Data from McKinsey... Ooh, I'm getting activated by all the fucking corpos and consulting groups that are name dropped here. By the way, McKinsey, these are basically like the Pinkertons. Any giant megacorp or government that has ever done anything evil, they use McKinsey Consulting Group. Projects that between 2025 and 2030, companies worldwide will need to invest a remarkable $6.7 trillion into new data center capacity to keep up with AI demand. Also, that was my fire alarm, just like doing a periodic check or some shit. Jesus Christ. How much is the American GDP? That's a lot of money. Companies worldwide invest $6.7 trillion. That's a full third of the American GDP. No, wait, that's like a fifth. Never mind. That's 20%. 20% of the entire American GDP right here. Almost 25%. AI data center spending has grown at least tenfold since 2022, with the well-known business blogger Paul Kazarowski, well-known to who exactly? All right, whatever. Estimating that it's nearing 2% of total U.S. GDP by itself. 2%. Jesus. Do we even spend that much on our military? Hold on. What's 1% of 3 trillion? Or 30 trillion? That would be 300 billion? Okay, yeah, so we spend about 4% of GDP on the military in America. The military budget in America is $1 trillion per year. The fact that this is now approaching a level comparable to the fucking US military budget this quickly is, like, alarming. Honey, AI capex is eating the economy, he writes. Arguing AI capex is so big, it's affecting economic statistics, boosting the economy, and beginning to approach the railroad boom. Holy shit. And the railroad was real infrastructure. Railroads? That was some real shit. That made the U.S. an industrial powerhouse. And then, by the way, we fucking tore up all the railroads. I'm not joking when I say this. I'm not exaggerating. This actually happened. The United States built railroads when they were the hot new, like, transportation tech in the 19th century. There was, you know, as they say, there was a railroad boom in the American Civil War and well on afterwards. And then once automobiles got invented, we started tearing up the railroads to build highways. America had railroads and then we tore them up. It's not even like Europe where a lot of them go underutilized. No, we destroyed them. I mean, there are some that go underutilized, but we destroyed a large amount of the railroads in America to build shit-ass, like, interstate highways that have potholes all the fucking time and that are horridly inefficient and expensive. Apollo Global Management's Torsten Slock. What a fucking name, dude. Without wading into the data center capex question, has assembled research showing the AI boom has surpassed the market value of the tech boom of the late 90s, which became known as the dot-com bubble. Oh, no! Dude, it's already bigger than the dot-com bubble. Kazarowski makes a similar point, contrasting capex booms from throughout financial history, notably the telecom boom of 2020 related to 5G fiber technology. Oh yeah, that was driven by the pandemic where everybody started using Zoom and shit. And everybody needed way better internet access. This actually happened surprisingly quickly and might have been one of the last real material benefits that capitalism was able to provide to society, which is in a moment of crisis where people depend on telecom tech. It was able to pretty cheaply extend internet infrastructure to a lot of, like, rural areas. Railroad boom of the 19th century. Contrasting. Okay, notably this boom and the railroad boom in the 19th century as the U.S. embraced a transportation revolution. Capital expenditures on AI data centers is likely around 20% of the peak spending on railroads as a percentage of GDP, and is still rising quickly. And we've already passed the decades ago peak in telecom spending during the dot-com bubble. Noah Smith, a widely read Are they fucking... They're fucking citing Noah Smith for this? What the fuck? Will data centers crash the economy? This might be the only thing of value that Noah Smith has had to say in the past 3 years. And it's a fucking obvious rhetorical question. The impact on the broader economy. Let's see what Yahoo Finance has to say about this. This is very finance coded. You can tell because of the angle that they're talking about this from. They are looking at this from like an investment and capitalistic perspective. But nonetheless, this is valuable information. It's kind of like a worse version of the Financial Times. With fucking liberals read Jacobin, communists read the Financial Times looking ass. This surge in tech investment has had profound downstream consequences, negative externalities, of course. Without the AI data center building spree, GDP might have actually contracted in the face of uncertain macroeconomic conditions. So data center spending may have staved off or postponed a recession. This is true. However, even though this is like nominally positive, I would still consider this a negative externality because seeing a problem's symptoms become visible is valuable for identifying the underlying cause of the problem and addressing it, right? If the GDP actually did contract, it would be unavoidable to see, okay, we have a problem on our hands. Now we need to address it, right? In economic terms. This is where a Keynesian lens of analysis becomes very useful because they're all about that growth mindset, et cetera, rise and grind set. If growth is stagnating, if the economy is stagnating, then something has to be done to fix it. But if you can sort of maintain the illusion, the underlying issue festers and becomes worse, right? Money flooding into AI infrastructure is being diverted from other sectors, including venture capital, traditional manufacturing, and even consumer-facing startups. So literally, AI is a vampiric investment project that is draining money from the real economy into the fake economy. Traditional manufacturing and consumer-facing startups, that's literally anything that has ever been like fun or good or cool at a local level in like city culture. This what consumer-facing startups, that's fucking the service industry. Unlike historical infrastructure booms, such as those for railroads and telecoms, AI data centers are short-lived, fast depreciating, and require continuous hardware upgrades, suggesting this pattern of investment may remain volatile and capital hungry for years to come. Dude, they're gonna fucking destroy. They're just gonna destroy more than the power grid. Jesus Christ. They're gonna literally strip the country for the copper wire running through it. And I mean that literally because electronic components depend on copper for a lot of shit. And gold as well. As AI redefines industries, the flow of capital into the physical backbone of this technology, vast data centers, has upended old assumptions about what drives America's economy. Consumer spending, though still immense in absolute terms, is not keeping up with the extraordinary scale and speed of investment by tech giants determined to lead in the AI era. The trajectory suggests that the U.S. economy in 2025 is being shaped not so much by the purchasing power of its people, but by the relentless arms race for AI compute capacity, an unprecedented tech-led growth engine. What a fucking puff piece ass way to say, like, yeah, the economy is entirely fake. Not driven by the purchasing power of its people? Dog, do these people understand what an economy is? AI compute capacity. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my fucking god. They wrote this with AI too. I hate this. Headline was updated to clarify that data center spending has surpassed consumer spending as a share of GDP. Originally featured on Fortune.com. Line go down. You see this line? This is pretty representative of the real economy. This line is representative of the fake economy. You can see fake economy is going up. Real economy is going down, which is pretty bad. Anyways, I fucking hate AI. I hate it so much. I'm not as hard on the people who use AI anymore in their day-to-day because it's so, like, hoisted upon us despite nobody asking for it, wanting it, or needing it, or finding it useful, that, like, I don't know. I just kind of have to write it off. Like, shit, I even had to go through some insane hoops just to make it so that when I search on Google, the first thing that comes up is not like a dumbass AI summary, you know? Are data centers eating the economy? I feel like this is good framing. That data centers are truly consuming the economy. Because it implies a sort of like they're taking something that is real and consuming it into itself, right? And destroying it in the process. And that is what is happening currently. Fuck me, dude. Figuratively and literally. I can use that right now. Jesus fucking Christ. End stage capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. The Ouroboros of the market. Thanks for watching, and support the channel if you would be so kind.